History doesn't bother with apologies for men who choose poorly. It doesn't pause to comfort or console them. It simply moves forward, burying their names beneath the weight of silent failure. Their downfall is not sudden or loud. It creeps in, quiet, invisible, irreversible. By the time most men recognize the cost of their choices, they're already eulogizing the man they might have been. Not because they lacked strength, but because they allowed the wrong woman past the gates. And she didn't need a weapon. She came in with a smile and a spark, and somewhere along the line, she lit the match. There are no warnings. Your mother won't tell you, your friends can't help you, and the world, it thrives on your blindness. But Machiavelli saw the pattern. He knew that the ruin of great men wasn't written in fate. It was chosen often with hope, often with desire, but always with foolishness. While modern culture seduces men with fantasies of loyalty and forever, Machiavelli offered truth. Not sugar-coated sentiment, but raw, unflinching strategy. Men are governed more by their eyes than their hands, he wrote. Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few touch the reality beneath. Most men are trapped by what they see. But the rare one, the sovereign man, he sees through the illusion. He doesn't look at her charm, her beauty, her performance. He observes her when she thinks no one is watching. He studies her behavior in stillness, and he decides from there. Here's your first brutal law. Women are either beneficial or destructive. That's the entire equation, not maybe, not someday, not she's working on herself. She either adds to your life or she quietly subtracts from it until there's nothing left. And in this modern age, many have mastered the art of appearing beneficial while living parasitically. They shower you with flattery as they erode your purpose. They nod in support while slowly pulling you from your mission. And you, if you lack discernment, if you confuse affection with alignment, you will call this chaos love. This message isn't born of hatred. It is born of necessity. Because if you are not cold-eyed and deliberate in your selection, you will die by 1,000 emotional cuts, offering your blood on the altar of commitment to someone who sees you as a utility. Machiavelli warned that the deceiver will always find someone willing to be deceived, and the man who chooses based on appearance alone is already defeated. He just hasn't hit the ground yet. The greatest threat isn't her. It's your failure to see her clearly. The undisciplined man is seduced by the surface, and in a society that grooms men to prioritize aesthetics and ignore character, is it any wonder so many fall for what glitters while stepping over what's solid? Machiavelli didn't write for lovers. He wrote for rulers, and a ruler guards his gates. He doesn't let emotion disguise itself as opportunity. A destructive woman doesn't need to yell or break things. She simply needs to steer you off course. She undermines your fire by asking you to explain it. She dulls your edge by labeling your discipline as harsh. Slowly, subtly, she convinces you that your strength must be softened for her love. And in doing so, you trade your throne for her temporary affection. But the wise man, he doesn't ask, "Is she pretty?" He asks, "Can she stand beside my vision without trying to edit it?" That's the only question that matters, and most men don't think to ask it until they're surrounded by the ashes of what they once stood for. Second law, never choose a woman who mocks masculine leadership. It doesn't matter how sweet she sounds when she wants something. It doesn't matter how magnetic she looks in heels. If she disrespects your direction, if she resists your leadership without reason, walk away. If she sees your standards as oppressive instead of protective, she is not your woman. She is a saboteur in disguise. Machiavelli understood this intimately. He knew that those who fail to hold power become prisoners of the people they tried to please. You think you can manage her fire. You think she'll calm down. You believe your love can repair her disrespect. It can't. Because once you hand her the reins, she won't give them back. She'll wrap them in velvet and call it partnership. But it will be you compromising while she rewrites the terms. You were taught that to be masculine is to be flexible, accommodating, diplomatic. But Machiavelli knew, if you cannot be feared, you cannot be respected. And without respect, there can be no loyalty. A woman doesn't follow a man because he is nice. She follows because she sees an unshakable spine. She will test your rules to find your resolve. And if she finds none, she will stay, not to love you, but to reshape you into something she controls. She'll stay long enough to mold you into weakness, then turn away and say, "You changed." No, you didn't change, you fell. And she watched you fall. We've been taught that real masculinity is soft, democratic, always compromising. But Machiavelli saw through this lie. He knew that power, once negotiated, is already surrendered. A man who explains his strength is a man begging for permission to keep it. And once a woman sees that your boundaries bend for her convenience, she will lose all desire to walk beside you. Even modern women, raised in a culture of hyper-individualism, still seek a man they cannot move. This doesn't mean cruelty, it means clarity. Be clear in your vision. Be clear in your boundaries. Be clear in what you will and will not allow. Because if she can manipulate you with tears, seduce you into self-betrayal, or argue her way out of consequences, then you're not her partner. You're her puppet, and she will replace you the moment she finds someone with a backbone. You don't secure a woman's loyalty with affection. You secure it by becoming a man who cannot be moved from his standard. The next law. Watch how she handles boredom. Anyone can be sweet when the spotlight is on, when gifts are being handed out, when you're giving her attention. But when the excitement fades, what does she become? A woman who needs chaos to feel something will destroy your future the moment real life asks for stability. A woman who cannot find peace in stillness will ignite conflict just to break the silence. And this is when her true nature emerges. You don't want a woman who needs stimulation to stay loyal. You want one who builds peace with you, who can wait, who can focus, who can endure. Because life isn't a constant thrill. Real life demands patience, discipline, and stillness. And if she panics in that silence, your future is already at risk. Society tells you her past doesn't matter, that you're weak or insecure if you care. But Machiavelli would have laughed in the face of such advice. He knew the past is prophecy, the promises she broke before you, the patterns she rehearsed with others. They're not gone. They're waiting. A woman's past is a window into your future. And if she has a history of chaos, betrayal, instability, don't expect peace from her now. Patterns don't lie, people do. The woman who betrayed before isn't starting over. She's perfecting her technique. Don't be the fool who sees red flags and calls them passion. And do not align your legacy with a woman who mocks your mission. If she rolls her eyes at your discipline, if she ridicules your goals, if she worships the approval of strangers but laughs at your ambition, she's not your ally. She's your adversary. When the noise quiets, when the likes fade, when life becomes routine, she'll need chaos. And if there isn't any, she will create it. Not because she's evil, because she's undisciplined. And an undisciplined woman is a liability to a man of vision. If you ignore this trait, she won't ruin you with fire. She'll do it with whispers, with absence, with subtle sabotage, disguised as emotional need. And when you finally pull away to focus on your purpose, she'll accuse you of neglect. But her resentment was growing long before you turned your head. You just didn't see it, because you were too busy believing her words instead of watching her ways. A woman's past is never irrelevant, no matter what the world tells you. The story she tells you about her growth is often crafted to sound redemptive, but patterns don't change through words. They shift only with deep accountability, and few ever go that far. You're not her therapist, her savior, or her fresh start. If you choose her based on hope and ignore her history, you're not making a wise decision. You're gambling with your future. A woman who has jumped from man to man doesn't value depth, only novelty, and novelty is the enemy of loyalty. Every time you try to lead a woman who worships stimulation, she will find you boring the moment you prioritize consistency. She'll call it outgrown, call it misalignment, but what she really means is that stability can't feed her addiction to disruption. The most dangerous women aren't the ones who scream. They're the ones who whisper doubt while you build, who ask you to slow down, take breaks, focus more on them, and less on your vision. Not because they hate you, but because they can't handle not being the center of the universe. And this is where most men fail. They misread her resistance as a cry for love, and they offer more presence when what she really respects is power. Machiavelli said it plainly. If she does not fear losing you, she will never truly value you. Women are biologically wired to test boundaries, not out of cruelty, but to locate the edges of your strength. If you don't have edges, she doesn't feel safe. She may say she wants openness, softness, transparency, but what she watches for is spine. The moment she realizes you'll never leave, no matter how low her value drops, is the moment she stops trying to protect what she has. What costs nothing is worth nothing. That law doesn't change in love. That's why the man willing to walk away always owns the power. Not because he's playing games, but because he doesn't negotiate self-respect. He understands that love without respect is manipulation waiting to happen. He doesn't plead for loyalty with desperate gestures. He doesn't bend to stay out of arguments. He holds the line. Because any woman who sees your boundaries as a challenge instead of a structure will eventually destroy the very thing she begged you to build with her. Machiavelli didn't write to comfort the fragile. He wrote to fortify the king. And a king doesn't apologize for his strength, he enforces it. That leads to another law. Choose a woman who fortifies your discipline, not one who begs you to relax it. The wrong woman will encourage you to skip workouts, laugh at your commitments, tempt you to step away from your mission. She'll call it love, but what it is treason. Because a real woman, a beneficial woman, wants your edge sharp. Not only because she respects it, but because she knows your greatness protects everything she hopes to build beside you. A woman who doesn't fear your departure will always test your durability. She'll confuse comfort with ownership. She'll stop contributing and start criticizing, not because she stopped loving you, but because she assumed you would always stay, no matter how far she strayed. That's why women test boundaries. It's not always conscious, but it is always real. They want confirmation. Is this man strong? Or is he just pretending until I press the right button? If you flinch at the first sign of tears, if you fold the first time she gets angry, you become hers. Not in a romantic sense, in a controlled sense. You become her emotional pet, her soft project, her spiritual hostage. And that's not love, that's leverage. A man who cannot walk away cannot lead. Machiavelli understood this deeply, long before our modern vocabulary named it. True respect is tied to consequence, not violence, but the awareness that if your values are violated, you will disappear. That's the grounding force that makes a woman stay honest, stay humble, stay invested. Without that fear, she drifts, and you become just another man orbiting her moods. This is why the world tells you to open up, because they want you exposed. Machiavelli would tell you to guard yourself, sharpen your edge, and let your actions speak your value. Because if a woman can stay in your life while disrespecting your principles, you're not her man, you're her fool. And fools fill cemeteries of potential that never saw the light of legacy. And now I speak directly to the man who's already too deep, the one who hears this and thinks, I'm already in it, I chose wrong. I see it now, but it's too late. Let me tell you this, it is not too late, but it will hurt. Leaving will cost you. Maybe your pride, maybe your money, maybe years you thought you'd get back. But here's the choice. Leave now and reclaim your future, or stay and watch the slow erosion of your soul for the next 20 years, because the wrong woman won't just drain you, she will consume everything. And when you're finally empty, she'll walk away anyway, not out of cruelty, but because nature respects the man who respects himself. She doesn't leave you because you became weak. She leaves you because your weakness makes her feel unsafe. You taught her that you will tolerate anything to keep her. And that's not love. That's slow suicide. Machiavelli knew the truth. People value what they believe they can lose. If she's not afraid of losing you, it's because you've shown her there's nothing she can do to drive you away. That ends now. You are not her emotional sponge. You are not her fixer. You are not her background music. You are here to build. And if she does not build with you, she is not for you. Most men today are not broken. They are misled. They were taught that suffering is love, that compromise is strength, that silence is peace. But those are lies told to keep you tame. Machiavelli didn't write about flowers and feelings. He wrote about force and focus. He warned that a prince who is not wise will never find wise counsel, meaning, if you lack discipline, you will attract destruction. You'll call it fate. You'll call it bad luck. But it was always you. You weren't unlucky. You were unguarded. And the most dangerous lie a man can tell himself is, she'll change. Number, she won't. She will adapt. She will pretend. She will say all the right things until you lower your guard again. Then she will return to what excites her. Chaos. Not because you failed her, but because you were never the man she followed. You were the man she manipulated. You're not stuck, you're addicted. Addicted to the cycle. Addicted to the hope that this time she'll see your worth. That your love will melt her dysfunction into devotion. It won't. Because from the moment you chose her, the rules were rigged. You gave her power without principle, and she has used it to reshape you into something she doesn't even respect. Every compromise has been a quiet surrender. Every silence a signal of weakness. Every effort to buy peace has only shown her that your mission is negotiable. And once your mission becomes flexible, your manhood becomes fiction. Machiavelli didn't write for the man who needs therapy to cope with a toxic woman. He wrote for the man ready to walk away from the delusion. You don't need revenge, you need rebirth. The man you used to be is the reason she stayed. The man you must become is the reason she cannot follow. No woman is your purpose, not one. Your purpose is mission, discipline, legacy. A woman can complement that. She can multiply it, but she can never replace it. And any man who flips that order will find himself begging for validation instead of building a future. That's why the same woman who ignores one man will follow another, not because she changed, but because the frame changed. Power changed, structure changed. Here's your final law. Never choose a woman who cannot hold herself together in your absence. Disappear. Watch. If she multiplies without your attention, you found a partner. But if she crumbles the moment you step away, she was never with you. She was addicted to your presence. Machiavelli taught rulers to protect their cities. You must protect your energy the same way. Your time is your treasure. Your discipline is your wall. And most men who fall not because they didn't see the red flags, but because they hoped they were wrong. They prayed love would fix what discernment already revealed, and that prayer cost them everything. A man without a mission will become a slave to his emotions and hers. And when you put a woman at the center of your universe, she will test to see if you can still lead. Most of the time, she already knows the answer. Your absence is not a game, it's a test. If she holds your values when you're not watching, she's rare. If she withers without your gaze, she's a risk. Most men never test this because they don't want to see the truth. They would rather believe a lie than confront betrayal. Your standards are not demands, they are shields. Shields against chaos, against regression, against the slow death of your dreams. Machiavelli warned rulers, never let the enemy pass the gate. But modern men, they hand the keys to women who've done nothing to earn them. And when the peace is gone, they act surprised. You are not protecting your heart. You are protecting your destiny. And the woman you allow into your kingdom is either helping build your castle or poisoning your foundation while smiling beside you. Most men ignore the red flags because they think they're the exception. You think you're different, that your love will change her, that your patience will inspire her, that she'll evolve in your arms, but she won't. Because she doesn't see you as the standard, she sees you as the fool who ignored the warnings. You are not her mentor, you are not her miracle, you are a man, and a man's life is measured in how he spends his time. Every moment you invest in a woman who has no intention of meeting your standards is a moment stolen from your greatness. Machiavelli said it best, the wise man acts at once, the fool delays. If you stay because starting over is scary, you're not being strong. You're choosing slow death over sudden liberation. And here's the truth you must face. You let her in. Whether out of lust or loneliness, you invited the collapse. But you do not have to live in the rubble. You can rise. But only if you stop lying to yourself. Stop blaming women. Stop blaming culture. Stop blaming timing. Your fall didn't begin when she left you empty. It began when you chose her knowing she wasn't right. And now you can choose again. But this time, choose like a king. Choose from clarity, not fantasy. Choose from strength, not fear. Because every woman in your life is either a weapon, forged for your mission, or a wound you chose to ignore. The crown belongs only to the man who will defend it. If you're ready to reclaim yours, start by raising your standards and refusing to explain them, because the man who fears losing a woman is already her servant. But the man who fears losing his mission, he owns the world.